Wow, okay. It really is kind of amazing how fast things are moving with AI, isn't it?
It really is. You blink and something's changed.
Yeah, like just a little while back, everyone was talking about language models, how they chat, how they write.
The LLMs, that was the big thing.
But what we're seeing now, it feels, I don't know, more active, more dynamic.
Definitely. It's a different level.
Yeah.
So, welcome everyone to the deep dive.
And today, we're really going to try and cut through some of the hype.
Yeah, give a clear picture of what this next AI wave actually looks like right now.
Because it's moving beyond just, responding to prompts.
Exactly. That's the core shift. We're talking about systems that don't just react, they can make decisions, they can act independently.
Which sounds like a pretty fundamental change.
Oh, it is. It really changes how AI fits into, well, everything. Technology, our lives.
Okay, so for this deep dive, we've got a few key things lined up.
Yep.
First, the current state of AI, this move to autonomous systems.
Then we'll get into these autonomous agents. Someone called them digital employees, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Digital employees. I like that. And finally,
Finally, we need to talk about MCP servers, multi-agent control plane servers. Sounds technical, but they're crucial for managing all these agents.
got it. In our discussion today, it's based on a recent sort of quick update we saw.
That's right. Just touching on these key shifts. So our goal here is basically to unpack that for you.
Give you a shortcut, maybe, to understanding what's happening and why it actually matters.
Precisely. Let's do it.
Okay, so let's dive right in. The current state of AI. You said the key thing is moving away from passive AI.
Yeah. Think of the earlier systems, even the really good ones, as tools. Sophisticated tools, sure, but they wait for you to tell them what to do.
Okay.
Now, the push is strongly towards what we're calling autonomous decision-making systems.
Meaning they don't just respond.
Right. They can figure out a goal, look at the situation,
Hmm.
and actually initiate actions. That's the big leap.
And where are we seeing these systems pop up? Is it still mostly research?
Not anymore. That's the fascinating part. They're being embedded, like really deeply embedded.
Into what?
Products, apps, services you use every day, but also into APIs, into the actual workflows inside businesses, even the core infrastructure that runs things.
Wow. So it's becoming foundational.
Very much so. A
Okay.
much deeper integration than, say, just having a chatbot on a website.
And underneath all this, we still have those powerful models we hear about.
Absolutely. The big names are still driving the intelligence. Google's Gemini, Anthropic's Claude, OpenAI's GPT-4 Turbo. They provide the cognitive horsepower, if you will.
But you also mentioned open source.
Yeah, and that's super important. Models like Mistral, Lamb of A3, the fact that powerful alternatives are openly available is really accelerating things and changing who can build this stuff.
Right. It democratizes it in a way.
Exactly. So you have the core intelligence from these models, Gemini, LMI, whatever. And the autonomy shift is about giving that intelligence agency, the power to act on its own.
Okay, I think I'm following. That core intelligence gets the ability to do things.
Precisely. And that sets the stage perfectly for the next big step,
Hmm.
these autonomous agents.
The digital employees. Okay, break that down. It sounds a bit sci-fi.
It does, but it's becoming very real, very fast. These aren't just simple scripts following rules.
So what are they?
Think of AI systems that can understand a complex goal, like organize my sales leads for the quarter.
Okay.
And then they can actually plan how to do that, maybe break it down into smaller steps. They can reason, strategize.
And even delegate. You mentioned delegating.
Yeah, some setups allow one agent to assign a subtask to another agent that's maybe specialized in, say, data analysis.
Whoa. Okay. And what kind of tasks can they actually handle?
It's pretty broad, actually.
Yeah.
We're seeing agents that can plan long-term strategies, like really complex stuff.
Uh-huh.
They can navigate the web, find information, pull it together. They can talk to other software using APIs.
So they can interact with the tools I already use?
Potentially, yeah. And get this, they can generate and even execute computer code to solve problems or automate things. And maybe the most crucial part,
Yeah.
they do this on your behalf, often without you needing to constantly watch over them.
So less direct supervision needed.
Exactly. They operate more autonomously.
It really does sound like having an intelligent assistant or, yeah, a digital employee handling complex digital tasks.
That's the idea, taking things off our plate that would normally eat up a ton of time and effort.
And what's making this possible? Are there specific tools or platforms?
Yeah, there are frameworks emerging that provide the building blocks. You hear names like AutoGen, LangChain, Crew AI quite a bit.
Okay, Autogen, LangChain, Crew AI. So those are key things to maybe look into.
Definitely. They offer different ways to structure how these agents work together.
Which brings up a practical point, right? If you have potentially hundreds or even thousands of these agents running around,
Doing different things, interacting.
how on earth do you manage that? It sounds like it could get chaotic fast.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not like running one app. It's managing a whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
And that's where these MCP servers come in.
Multi-agent control plane.
Right.
Yeah, MCP.
So if the agents are the digital workforce,
Then the MCP server is like the central brain. Or maybe mission control is a better analogy.
mission control, I like that, overseeing the whole operation.
Precisely. It's the infrastructure layer that keeps everything coordinated, organized, running smoothly. Without it. Yeah, chaos.
Okay, so what does this mission control actually do?
Well, several key things. Think of it as an intelligent hub. First, it routes information. It figures out which agent is best suited for a particular piece of data or a task and sends it there.
Okay, like a smart dispatcher.
Sort of, yeah. It also prioritizes tasks. You know, what's urgent, what's important, what can wait.
Makes sense.
And critically, it handles things like security. Who has permission to do what? Are the agents staying within their allowed boundaries?
Security and permissions. That sounds vital, especially for businesses. Absolutely essential for enterprise use, yes. And finally, scalability.
Meaning handling more and more agents.
Exactly. As you deploy more agents, maybe for different tasks, the MCP needs to handle that increased load without falling over. It ensures the whole system can grow.
So it sounds like these MCP servers are pretty much non-negotiable if you're serious about using autonomous agents at any real scale.
I'd say so. For any kind of enterprise-level deployment where you have lots of agents working in parallel, you absolutely need that central control plane.
Without it, you just can't efficiently manage a complex system of interacting agents.
You lose control very quickly. The MCP provides that necessary structure and oversight to actually harness the power of all these agents working together.
Okay, this is a lot to take in. It's evolving so fast. So
Yeah.
for someone listening wanting to, get a handle on this, what are the practical steps? What can they actually do?
Good question. The source we looked at had some solid advice on this.
Like what?
First off, learn the agent frameworks themselves. Get your hands dirty.
Like LangChain, Autogen, React you mentioned.
Exactly. Don't just read about them. Try building a small agent pipeline, like a little workflow for a digital employee.
Why is building something so important?
Because you actually see how they work, how they reason, how they pass information, how they maybe fail sometimes. Gives you a much deeper gut feeling for it than just theory.
Right, practical experience. Okay, what else?
Understand orchestration, which ties directly back to those MCP servers we just discussed.
How do you learn orchestration if it's complex?
Well, the suggestion was twofold. One, look at the open source MCP tools that are starting to pop up. They're early days, but developing fast.
Okay.
Or maybe even try simulating a basic MCP yourself. Use tools you might already know, like FastAPI for the API part, WebSockets for communication, maybe Celery for task queues.
So build a mini mission control.
Kind of, yeah. Even a simple simulation teaches you a ton about the challenges involved in managing multiple agents talking to each other.
That makes sense. It demystifies it a bit. What was next?
Stay close to the open source world. So much of the really cutting-edge stuff in AI is happening out in the open.
Where should people look?
GitHub is key. Follow projects related to the big models Mistral, Llama. Follow libraries like Hugging Face. And look at agent projects like AutoGPT.
So you get a real-time view of development.
Exactly. It's like having a front row seat. You see the code, the discussions, the problems they're solving.
Okay, good tip. Then there was something about simulated environments.
Yeah, playing with simulations, think of them as safe sandboxes.
Sandboxes for AI agents.
Pretty much. Places where you can deploy agents, let them run, train them, see how they interact, without worrying about messing up real data or systems.
What kind of platforms are we talking about?
Things like Baby AGI, MetaGPT, maybe even some open-world game environments. It's a lower-risk way to see agent behavior in action, observe how they learn and cooperate.
Great idea for lowering the barrier to entry.
Right.
And then using AI internally.
Yes, very practical advice. Start using AI, including maybe simple agents eventually, for your own tasks.
Even small stuff.
Especially small stuff to start. Automate sorting your email, maybe generating a first draft of a report, handling basic customer questions, helping with DevOps tasks.
Why is that so helpful?
Because it forces you to think about real problems and how AI can actually solve them in your context. You gain practical experience and start seeing the real value.
Okay, makes sense. And the final piece of advice was about focus.
Yeah, shifting focus from just the models.
Like, which one is best?
Right. Less focus on that and more focus on the use case. What problem are you actually trying to solve?
So think problem first, then find the right AI tool.
Exactly. Don't get bogged down in comparing GPT-4 versus Claude versus Gemini on every metric.
Yeah.
Instead, ask, what's the most efficient way to solve this specific business problem using the AI tools available, which now include these agents?
Find the right tool for the job, basically.
That's the key. Focus on the solution, not just the underlying tech specs.
Okay, wow. So let's just quickly recap then. We've covered a lot.
Yeah.
This big shift in AI from just reacting to actually acting autonomously. The rise of these autonomous agents, the digital employees, with some pretty impressive skills.
Planning, browsing, coding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the absolute necessity of MCP servers, the mission control, to manage these agents, especially when you have a lot of them.
Can't really scale without them.
And our goal really was just to give everyone listening a clearer map of these big trends.
Yeah, because this isn't just theory anymore.
Mm.
These changes are starting to have real impact, across industries, across tech.
Definitely. And the source material we used, it ended with a really interesting question.
Oh, yeah.
It basically asked, when you think about the agent architecture itself, like how the agents are built, how they think, versus the MCP code, the infrastructure making them work together,
Uh-huh.
which of those two areas makes you more curious? Where do you want to dive deeper next?
That is a good question. Is it the agent's brain or the system that connects all the brains?
Yeah. It kind of makes you think about where your own interest lies or maybe where the next big breakthroughs might come from.
It's a fascinating point to consider. And it really highlights that this whole landscape is just constantly evolving. What we talked about today is key right now, but ask us again in 6 months.
True enough. The evolution continues.